There is a specific kind of satisfaction that arrives in places it has no business being. It arrives in hospital waiting rooms after suspicions become diagnoses. It arrives after betrayals become evidence. It arrives after relationships end and secrets finally stop pretending to be invisible. It slips quietly into moments that should belong entirely to grief and stands there awkwardly beside it. You ignored the feeling for months, maybe years. Something felt wrong, a sentence that landed strangely, a look that stayed half a second too long. Stories that shifted around the edges whenever you returned to them later. You noticed things, then explained them away, then noticed more, then explained those away too, and then eventually the truth surfaces. The affair was real, the lie was real, the manipulation was real. The fear you kept trying to argue yourself out of turns out to have been tracking reality more accurately than you allowed yourself to believe. And underneath devastation, underneath anger, sadness, humiliation, loneliness, something else appears. I knew it. 2 words. 2 words that should feel tiny next to the size of what you have lost, but they do not. Because hidden inside those words is something that feels suspiciously close to relief. And almost nobody talks about it because grief is supposed to be clean. Grief is supposed to be sorrow and nothing else. But human emotion has never respected those rules. To understand why vindication can feel strangely good inside genuine heartbreak, it helps to understand something psychologist Leon Festinger spent much of his work examining: cognitive dissonance. Festinger proposed that the human mind experiences genuine psychological strain when it attempts to hold 2 contradictory beliefs simultaneously. Not mild discomfort, actual tension, something closer to mental friction. And few situations create friction more effectively than loving someone you suspect might be hurting you. Because now 2 realities begin living inside your head at the same time. One says, they love me. The other says, something is wrong. One says, I trust them. The other quietly asks, then why does this keep feeling strange? The mind does not enjoy existing in this state. It searches constantly for a resolution. It gathers evidence. It replays conversations. It zooms in and out repeatedly, attempting to force the pieces into a single picture that finally makes sense. And while that contradiction remains unresolved, part of your mental energy stays trapped there, waiting, working, searching. Then suddenly the truth arrives. The lie becomes undeniable. The contradiction disappears. One version of reality collapses, and despite the pain of what replaced it, something else immediately stops. The strain, the splitting, the exhausting act of carrying 2 incompatible worlds simultaneously. You were never relieved that something terrible happened. You were relieved that reality finally stopped arguing with itself. The strange satisfaction of consequences finally landing. There is another layer underneath this that many people dislike admitting even more. Because sometimes being proven right does not only bring relief, sometimes it brings satisfaction. Psychologists studying schadenfreude, pleasure experienced at another person's misfortune, found something uncomfortable about when this response becomes strongest. Not random suffering, not innocent suffering, deserved suffering. Consequences, particularly consequences attached to arrogance, betrayal, dishonesty, manipulation. The person who lied finally being caught. The person who exploited people finally losing credibility. The person who spent months making you doubt your own reality finally losing the ability to hide behind theirs. And this feels ugly because people tend to hear satisfaction and immediately translate it into cruelty. But satisfaction and cruelty are not identical things, because justice itself contains a form of satisfaction. Closure contains satisfaction. Watching reality eventually correct itself contains satisfaction. The narcissist whose carefully polished image begins cracking. The friend whose betrayal finally becomes visible. The partner whose secret finally becomes impossible to deny. Part of you watches and thinks, there it is, finally. Not because devastation disappeared, because reality eventually caught up. Why I Told You So is actually about power. People often treat I told you so as evidence of pettiness. Sometimes it is. But beneath betrayal, there is usually something deeper happening. Something involving control. Because betrayal is fundamentally an experience of powerlessness. Something happened without your permission. Decisions affecting your life were made somewhere outside your awareness. You became a passenger inside events you never agreed to board. That loss of agency matters psychologically. Research into betrayal and trauma repeatedly finds that people emerge with a damaged sense of trust, not only in others, but in themselves. How did I miss this? How did I not see it? Can I trust my judgment anymore? These questions hurt because they threaten something larger than the relationship itself. They threaten your confidence in your own perception. So when reality eventually proves your suspicions correct, something inside quietly repairs. Not everything, but something. Because I knew it is often less about them than it is about you. It says, I was not blind. I was paying attention. My instincts were speaking. I was not completely disconnected from reality. The triumph was never directed outward. It was directed inward, toward the part of you that needed reassurance that it could still trust itself. Grief was never built to be simple. Much of the guilt people feel around relief comes from a misunderstanding about emotion itself. People imagine feelings like weights on opposite ends of a scale. More sadness means less happiness. More anger means less love. More relief means less grief. But psychologists studying mixed emotional states found something stranger. Human beings routinely experience contradictory emotions simultaneously, not alternating, not taking turns, actually existing together. Joy and sadness, love and resentment, pride and grief, relief and devastation. Parents watching children leave home often describe feeling happiness and loss simultaneously. Graduations produce excitement and mourning together. New beginnings frequently carry endings folded into them. Human emotion does not operate according to clean categories. It layers, it overlaps, it contradicts itself. And heartbreak is one of the places where that contradiction becomes easiest to see, because losing someone and feeling relieved by losing them were never mutually exclusive experiences. They were simply two truths occupying the same room. The guilt that arrives afterward, then comes another feeling, one that often appears seconds after the relief itself. Guilt, because relief inside grief feels wrong. You think, why do I feel good? What kind of person feels satisfaction right now? But guilt here often serves no protective function at all, because it usually rests on an assumption. If I feel relief, then maybe the loss did not matter. If I feel satisfaction, maybe I did not love them enough. If I feel okay for a moment, maybe something is wrong with me. But emotions do not invalidate each other. Relief does not erase grief. Grief does not erase relief. The existence of one feeling says nothing about whether another feeling was genuine. You can miss someone terribly and still feel safer without them. You can mourn something deeply and still feel grateful it ended. You can love someone and feel relieved that the uncertainty finally died. None of these cancel each other. They simply coexist when vindication becomes a prison. There is, however, a place where this process can become something else, because sometimes people stop using vindication as closure and begin using it as identity. Being right becomes the thing they return to repeatedly, again and again, replaying evidence, rehearsing proof, protecting the role of the person who saw everything coming. Eventually, the satisfaction stops functioning like resolution. It becomes orbit. They circle the same wound repeatedly because being right begins feeling safer than continuing forward. And the difference matters. Healthy vindication settles, unhealthy vindication repeats. One closes the file, the other keeps reopening it. The quiet truth at the end. If you have ever felt relief inside satisfaction inside betrayal, or a quiet sense of I knew it sitting beside devastation, you were never failing at grief. You were experiencing something profoundly ordinary. Your mind had stopped holding contradictory worlds. Reality had finally chosen a shape. Your instincts had quietly proven they were paying attention even while you doubted them. The relief was never competing with the pain. It was simply arriving beside it. You never owed anyone pure sorrow in order for your loss to count. Real emotion rarely arrives in single colors. It arrives layered, messy, contradictory, human. Being right about something terrible was never a betrayal of your grief. It was only proof that some part of you saw the storm long before the sky finally admitted it was there.